Welcome to 20 Books in 20 Minutes. Philida by Andre Brink. It is 1832 in South Africa, the year before slavery is abolished and the slaves are emancipated. Philida is the mother of 4 children by Francois Brink, the son of her master. When Francois's father orders him to marry a woman from a prominent Cape Town family, Francois reneges on his promise to give Philida her freedom, threatening instead to sell her to new owners in the harsh country up north. Here is a remarkable story, based on individuals connected to the author's family, of a fiercely independent woman who will settle for nothing and for no one. Unwilling to accept the future that lies ahead of her, Philida continues to test the limits and lodges a complaint against the Brink family. Then she sets off on a journey from the southernmost reaches of the Cape, across a great wilderness, to the far north of the country in order to reclaim her soul. For readers who enjoy historical fiction that is intricately plotted and culturally diverse. A Partial History of Lost Causes by Jennifer DuBois. In St. Petersburg, Russia, world chess champion Alexander Bezetov begins a quixotic quest. He launches a dissident presidential campaign against Vladimir Putin. He knows he will not win and that he is risking his life in the process, but a deeper conviction propels him forward. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, 30-year-old English lecturer Irena Ellison struggles for a sense of purpose. Irena is certain she has inherited Huntington's disease, the same cruel illness that ended her father's life. When Irena finds an old photocopied letter her father wrote to the young Alexander Bezetov, she makes a fateful decision. Her father asked the chess prodigy a profound question. How does one proceed in a lost cause? But never received an adequate reply. Leaving everything behind, Irena travels to Russia to find Bezetov and get an answer for her father and for herself. For readers who enjoyed Still Alice by Lisa Genova and When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. Wife 22 by Melanie Gideon. Married to William for 20 years, Alice remembers the first time they met like it was yesterday. But these days, she posts things on Facebook that she once confided to him. Invited to participate in an anonymous online survey on marriage and love, Alice's longings come pouring out in the answers of Wife 22. And Researcher 101 listens in a way that William hasn't in a long time. Meanwhile, everything in Alice's life is turning upside down. For readers who enjoy witty, fast-paced, character-driven, first-person narratives. The Red House by Mark Haddon. Richard, a wealthy doctor, invites his estranged sister Angela and her family to join him for a week at a vacation home in the English countryside. Richard has just remarried and inherited a willful stepdaughter in the process. Angela has a feckless husband and 3 children who sometimes seem alien to her. The stage is set for 7 days of resentment and guilt, a staple of family gatherings the world over. For readers who enjoyed The Vacationers by Emma Straub and 7 Days of Us by Francesca Hornak. The Elephant Keeper's Children by Peter Hoeg. Told from the precocious perspective of 14-year-old Peter, The Elephant Keeper's Children is about 3 siblings and how they deal with life alongside their eccentric parents. Peter's father is a vicar, his mother is an artisan, and both are equally and profoundly devout. The family lives on the fictional island of Fino, where people of all religious faiths coexist peacefully, yet nothing is as it seems. When Peter's parents suddenly go missing, Peter and his siblings fear the worst, as their parents' relentless quest to boost church attendance finally put them in danger. For readers who enjoyed The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell and Grace is Gone by Emily Elger. Ma, He Sold Me for a Few Cigarettes by Martha Long. When Martha Long's irresponsible mother hooks up with the Jackser and starts having more babies, the abuse and poverty in the house grow more acute. Martha is regularly sent out to beg and more often steal, and her wilds as a child of 7, 8 are often the only thing keeping food on the table. Jaxer is a master of paranoid anger and outbursts, keeping the children in an unheated tenement, unable to go to school, at the ready for his unpredictable rages. Then Martha is sent by Jaxer to a man he knows in exchange for the price of a few cigarettes. She is 9. She is filthy, lice-ridden, outcast. Martha and Ma escape to England, but for an itinerant Irish woman, finding work in late 1950s England is a near impossibility. Martha treasures the time alone with her mother, but amazingly, Ma pines for Jaxer, and they eventually return to Dublin and the other children. And yet there are prize cartoon magazines, the occasional hidden penny to buy the children sweets, the glimpse of loving family life in other houses, and Martha's hope that she will soon be old enough to make her own way. For readers who enjoyed Somebody's Daughter, a memoir by Ashley C. Ford, and This Time Next Year We'll Be Laughing by Jacqueline Winspear. Catherine the Great, Portrait of a Woman by Robert K. Massie. The extraordinary story of an obscure German princess who became one of the most remarkable, powerful, and captivating women in history. Born into a minor noble family, Catherine transformed herself into Empress of Russia by sheer determination. For 34 years, the government, foreign policy, cultural development, and welfare of the Russian people were in her hands. She dealt with domestic rebellion, foreign wars, and the tidal wave of political change and violence churned up by the French Revolution. Catherine's family, friends, ministers, generals, lovers, and enemies, all are here, vividly brought to life. History offers few stories richer than that of Catherine the Great. In this book, an eternally fascinating woman is returned to life. For readers who enjoyed The Life of Elizabeth I by Alison Ware and Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff. The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat by Edward Kelsey Moore. Meet Odette, Clarice, and Barbara Jean. Earl's Diner is their home away from home, the first Black-owned business in Plainview, Indiana. Dubbed the Supremes by their friends, the trio is watched over by Earl during their high school days in the racially charged 1960s and every Sunday after church for the next 40 years. Through marriage, children, infidelity, and illness, they weather life's storms together at Earl's All You Can Eat. For readers who enjoyed Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fannie Flagg and The Friendship List by Susan Mallory. The End of Your Life Book Club by Will Schwalbe. During her treatment for cancer, Marianne Schwalbe and her son Will spent many hours sitting in waiting rooms together. To pass the time, they would talk about the books they were reading. Once by chance, they read the same book at the same time, and an informal book club of 2 was born. Through their wide-ranging reading, Will and Marianne, and we, their fellow readers, are reminded how books can be comforting, astonishing, and illuminating, changing the way that we feel about and interact with the world around us. For readers who enjoyed books by Larry McMurtry and The Rainbow Comes and Goes by Anderson Cooper. The Weight of Blood by Laura McHugh. The Dane family's roots tangle deep in the Ozark Mountain town of Henbane, but that doesn't keep 16-year-old Lucy Dane from being treated like an outsider. Folks still whisper about her mother, a bewitching young stranger who inspired local myths when she vanished years ago. When one of Lucy's few friends, slow-minded Sherry, is found murdered, Lucy feels haunted by the 2 lost girls, the mother she never knew and the friend she couldn't protect. Everything changes when Lucy stumbles across Sherry's necklace in an abandoned trailer and finds herself drawn into a search for answers. What Lucy discovers makes it impossible to ignore the suspicion cast on her own kin. More alarming, she suspects Sherry's death could be linked to her mother's disappearance, and the connection between the 2 puts Lucy at risk of losing everything. In a place where the bond of blood weighs heavy, Lucy must decide where her allegiances lie. For readers who enjoyed Winter Bone by Daniel Woodrell and The Roanoke Girls by Amy Engel. The Divorce Papers by Susan Rieger. 29-year-old Sophie Deal is happy toiling away as a criminal law associate at an old-line New England firm, where she very much appreciates that most of her clients are trapped behind bars. Everyone at Trainer Hand knows she abhors face-to-face contact, but one week with all the big partners out of town, Sophie is stuck handling the intake interview for the daughter of the firm's most important client. After 18 years of marriage, Mayflower descendant Mia Mickeljohn Durkheim has just been served divorce papers in a humiliating scene at the popular local restaurant Go Lightly's. Mia is now locked and loaded to fight her eminent and ambitious husband, Dr. Daniel Durkheim, chief of the Department of Pediatric Oncology at Mather Medical School, for custody of their 10-year-old daughter, Jane. Mia also burns to take him down a peg. Sophie warns Mia that she's never handled a divorce case before, but Mia can't be put off. The way she sees it, it's her first divorce, too. For Sophie, the whole affair will spark a hard look at her own relationships with her parents, colleagues, friends, lovers, and most important, herself. For readers who enjoy witty, unconventional, humorous stories. A Circle of Wives by Alice LaPlante. When Dr. John Taylor turns up dead in a hotel room, the local police uncover enough incriminating evidence to suspect foul play. Detective Samantha Adams, whose Palo Alto beat usually covers petty crimes, is innocently thrown into a high-profile case that is more complicated than any she has faced before. A renowned reconstructive surgeon and a respected family man, Dr. Taylor was beloved and admired, but beneath his perfect facade was a hidden life, in fact, multiple lives. Dr. Taylor was married to 3 very different women in 3 separate cities. As the circumstances surrounding his death emerge, Detective Adams finds herself tracking down a murderer through a tangled web of marital deception and revenge. For readers who enjoyed Never Tell by Lisa Gardner and Blue Monday by Nikki French. Gemini by Carol Cassella. A stranger's life hangs in the balance. What if you have the power to decide if she lives or dies? Dr. Charlotte Reese works in the intensive care unit of Seattle's Beacon Hospital, tending to patients with the most life-threatening illnesses and injuries. Her job is to battle death, to monitor erratic heartbeats, worry over low oxygen levels, defend against infection and demise. One day, a Jane Doe is transferred to her care from a rural hospital on the Olympic Peninsula. This unidentified patient remains unconscious, the victim of a hit and run. As Charlotte and her team struggle to stabilize her, the police search for the driver who fled the scene. Days pass, Jane's condition worsens, and her identity remains a mystery. As Charlotte finds herself making increasingly complicated medical decisions that will tie her forever to Jane's fate, her usual professional distance evaporates. She's plagued by questions. Who is Jane Doe? Why will no one claim her? Who should decide her fate if she doesn't regain consciousness, and when? Perhaps most troubling, Charlotte wonders if a life locked in a coma is a life worth living. Enlisting the help of her boyfriend Eric, a science journalist, Charlotte impulsively sets out to uncover Jane Doe's past. But the closer they get to the truth, the more their relationship is put to the test. It is only when they open their hearts to their own feelings toward each other and toward life itself that Charlotte and Eric will unlock Jane Doe's shocking secret and prepare themselves for a miracle. For readers who enjoyed The Red Lotus by Chris Bohalian and Faithful by Alice Hoffman. Precious Thing by Colette McBeth. Some friendships fizzle out. Rachel and Clara promised theirs would last forever. They met in high school when Rachel was the shy, awkward new girl, and Clara was the friend everyone wanted. Instantly, they fell under one another's spell, and nothing would be the same again. Now in their late 20s, Rachel has the television career, the apartment, and the boyfriend, while Clara's life is spiraling further out of control. Yet despite everything, they remain inextricably bound. Then Rachel's news editor assigns her to cover a police press conference, and she is shocked when she arrives to learn that the subject is Clara, reported missing. Is it abduction, suicide, or something else altogether? Imagine discovering something about your oldest friend that forces you to question everything you've shared together. The truth is always there, but only if you choose to see it. For readers who enjoyed Little Pretty Things by Laura Rader Day and Sister by Rosamund Lupton. Delicious Food by James Hannaham. Held captive by her employers and by her own demons on a mysterious farm, a widow struggles to reunite with her young son in this unique American story of freedom, perseverance, and survival. Darlene, once an exemplary wife and a loving mother to her young son Eddie, finds herself devastated by the unforeseen death of her husband. Unable to cope with her grief, she turns to drugs and quickly forms an addiction. One day she disappears without a trace. Unbeknownst to 11-year-old Eddie, now left behind in panic-stricken search for her, Darlene has been lured away with false promises of a good job and a rosy life. A shady company named Delicious Foods shuttles her to a remote farm where she is held captive, performing hard labor in the fields to pay off the supposed debt for her food, lodging, and the constant stream of drugs the farm provides to her and the other unfortunates in prison there. For readers who enjoyed The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead and Long Bright River by Liz Moore. The Pocket Wife by Susan Crawford. Dana Cottrell is shocked when her neighbor Celia is brutally murdered. To Dana's horror, she was the last person to see Celia alive. Suffering from mania, the result of her bipolar disorder, she has troubling holes in her memory, including what happened on the afternoon of Celia's death. Her husband's odd behavior and the probing of Detective Jack Moss create further complication as she searches for answers. The closer she comes to piecing together the shards of her broken memory, the more Dana falls apart. Is there a murderer lurking inside her, or is there one out there in the shadows of reality waiting to strike again? For readers who enjoyed The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins and Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. Where All the Light Tends to Go by David Joy. The area surrounding Cashiers, North Carolina is home to people of all kinds, but the world that Jacob McNeely lives in is crueler than most. His father runs a methodically organized meth ring with local authorities on the dime to turn a blind eye to his dealings. Having dropped out of high school and cut himself off from his peers, Jacob has been working for his father for years, all on the promise that his payday will come eventually. The only joy he finds comes from reuniting with Maggie, his first love, and a girl clearly bound for bigger and better things than their hardscrabble town. Jacob has always been resigned to play the cards that were dealt him, but when a fatal mistake changes everything, he's faced with a choice: stay and appease his father, or leave the mountains with the girl he loves. In a place where blood is thicker than water and hope takes a back seat to fate, Jacob wonders if he can muster the strength to rise above the only life he's ever known. For readers who enjoy coming-of-age stories, Southern fiction, and intricate plots. The Fifth Gospel by Ian Caldwell. A mysterious exhibit is under construction at the Vatican Museums. The curator is murdered at a clandestine meeting on the outskirts of Rome a week before it opens. That same night, a violent break-in rocks the home of Greek Catholic priest Father Alex Andro. When the papal police fail to identify a suspect in either crime, Father Alex decides that to find the killer, he must reconstruct the secret of what a little-known, true-to-life fifth gospel, known as the Diatessaron, reveals about the Church's most controversial holy relic. But just as he begins to understand the truth about his friend's death and its consequences for the future of the Christian Church, Father Alex discovers a ruthless stalker is hunting him. an enemy with a vested stake in the exhibit that he must outwit to survive. For readers who enjoyed The Blood Gospel by James Rawlins and The Last Templar by Raymond Corey. Cat Out of Hell by Lynn Truss. For people who both love and hate cats comes the tale of Alex Charlesworth, a librarian who finds himself suddenly alone. He's lost his job, his beloved wife has just died, his sister has disappeared. Overcome by grief, he searches for clues about her disappearance in a file of interviews between a man called Wiggy and a cat, Roger, who speaks to him. It takes a while for Alec to realize he's not gone mad from grief, that the cat is actually speaking to Wiggy, and that much of what we fear about cats is true. They do think they're smarter than humans, for one thing. And well, it seems they are. What's more, they do have 9 lives, or at least this one does. Roger's older than Methuselah, and his unblinking stare comes from the fact that he's seen it all. And he's got a tale to tell, a tale of shocking local history and dark forces that may link not only the death of Alex's wife, but also several other local deaths. Will the cat help Alec, or is he one of the dark forces? For readers who enjoy Gothic fiction and horror. Panic by Lauren Oliver. Panic began as so many things do in Carp, a poor town of 12,000 people in the middle of nowhere, because it was summer and there was nothing else to do. Heather never thought she would compete in Panic, a legendary game played by graduating seniors. She never thought of herself as fearless, the kind of person who would fight to stand out. When she finds something and someone to fight for, she will discover that she is braver than she ever thought. Dodge has never been afraid of Panic. His secret will fuel him and get him all the way through the game. He's sure of it. What he doesn't know is that he's not the only one with a secret. Everyone has something to play for. For Heather and Dodge, the game will bring new alliances, unexpected revelations, and the possibility of first love for each of them, and the knowledge that sometimes the very things we fear are those we need the most. For readers who enjoy compelling thriller and suspense. Request a print copy of any title from the online catalog. Check Libby and Hoopla to see if the ebook or audiobook is available. And as always, we'd love to know what you're reading.